Yeah, I mean, as far as like, we get to my likes for the movie. Visually, looks fantastic. Being from 1968, I'm sure it's had a remaster or two.
Or 11.
Or 11, sure. But regardless, it looks fantastic. It's honestly hard to believe that it was, a 1968 thing because, like, it doesn't. A lot of things, I mean, fuck. Just think about the Connery movies, everything looks kind of fuzzy. It's like, this is really good looking. I'm sure it was a marvel at the time. And, yeah, that holds up.
Absolutely.
Can't say enough for it looks good.
And I think like what really does it like a little bit of like too much justice is the like when I watched the trailer of it, or we watched it I think actually way back when.
Probably.
And those cuts of
By the way, this 60s thing doesn't exist.
Yeah, you will never find it because it wasn't
we killed
successful.
We didn't like it, and to be honest, I didn't like it because I felt like we didn't do enough of our homework. So maybe we'll do a decades thing eventually.
Yeah.
But much more homework will need done. So. Okay.
But
anyway.
when I think a trailer does this movie justice in kind of highlighting a lot of just these really cool segments and a lot of those like visual like standalone scenes that are just beautiful. And some of those tone setting stuff with Hal just talking, kind of that eeriness it includes.
Yeah.
Like this movie was meant for like 100 trailers to be able to be cut out of it to create eerie space vibes.
Yeah.
And obviously, since there's no narrative, it's not like the movie could deliver on any of those eerie space vibes quite as much. But just like ridiculously visually beautiful, and a lot of scenes that went on for way too long. But I was still kind of like awestruck by some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost the boredom rolled over into the fact that I was like, Jesus Christ, this looks incredible. So I didn't mind, hanging on to some of these scenes for a few seconds too long.
If it was a few seconds too long, that might have been all right. I just felt like do we need to find, I'll just read my dislikes here.
Let's go.
We'll definitely do it better. Get to the point already. There was no point.
Yeah.
Didn't really seem like there was much of one, to be honest. Great movie for sleeping, which is not a strong trait for a movie. I understand what they're going for, and they probably need the extra time for some of the effects, because if we go back to when we were looking at Star Wars and stuff like that, I mean, we're playing with toys.
Yeah.
Things are hanging from things. You're moving things along. I understand what they're doing, so you need that time, but a couple more cuts would have been cool. We don't need to see every last second of every ship landing or the entire approach for that ship, the entire transition of the pod going out to the satellite. By the way, why can't he just park next to the satellite and hop over it? I didn't understand the whole
the drift would probably just make it collide with it and then cause more damage,
But it's like, isn't it propelled somewhat?
Mildly, but you got to think, I mean, probably from an energy efficiency standpoint, you probably can't have propulsion going in all directions to also keep pace with the pace that the bigger ship is actually traveling at. So it's probably kept a way to kind of dangle off onto its own, and then,
But it was really far.
It was really far away, yeah. You would have thought maybe just a regular tether or something could have been docked to it to, keep it attached.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know.
The little stuff like that just seemed to make the movie drag on forever for me. There's one snippet up here that I was reading. At the premiere, 241 people walked. I got this off of IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
241 people walked out of the theater, including Rock Hudson, who said, "Will someone tell me what the hell this is about?" Sir Arthur C. Clarke once said, "If you understand 2001 completely, we failed. We wanted to raise far more questions than we answered." Clarke later expressed some concern the film was too hard to follow and explained things more fully in novelization and subsequent sequels.
Yeah.
So great. I guess you did your job. The other stuff I had to say was like, so I guess you're just fucking around then. Cool. I just always felt like there was the promise of something more, but we never quite got delivered that. What is the monolith? Who buried it? Did it bury itself? Was it the Jupiterians? Is this a grand Jupiterian conspiracy? Does the rectangle take different forms? Is this the prequel to Transformers? What's the mission debrief like? Do they have to wait for baby Dave to grow up and go back to school again for the debrief? Does he have to get rehired in order to get debriefed? So he actually has to get a few other jobs so he can gain some experience so that he's qualified to work there. Is this the prequel to Billy Madison?
No, not Billy Madison.
Is Dave God now? Is he Dumbledore? I have so many questions. So I guess they succeeded.
Oh, shoot. Oh, that's too good. So I will say, after looking up just a handful of things, once Dave, kind of gets too old and turns into the baby, it's kind of like a reborn evolution of humanity. So he's like a proto-human type of thing at the end of it.
Sure.
And then it's kind of like looking towards the Earth as like the next generation of human-like kind,
Mm-hmm.
much in the way that humans were the next generation of our weird-ass monkey things in the beginning of the movie.
I mean, those are dudes in monkey suits.
Yeah. I gotta say, though, so just to talk on the dudes in the monkey suits, there was a lot of commitment there. I mean, for, at sometimes 20 monkey suit dudes to be on screen at one time. Not one of them was not committed to the role.
Yeah.
I rewatched a couple of the scenes, where everybody was there, and, nobody was half-assing the monkey role. So just impressive on their end that you didn't have a bunch of lazy-ass dudes just, arms crossed, just I'm just here to get paid.
Yeah.
Been in the suit for 9 hours.
Well, if you've watched any, if you've seen any clips or heard any stories about any of the Kubrick stuff, it's he was just a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
So, he knew how to get people committed, I suppose.
Yeah. So going on to kind of what I didn't enjoy quite as much about this. So definitely the that beginning sequence in general, with just how elongated it was. I get that maybe the point was to show, desolate wasteland, monkey kind, finding tools, using tools to fight each other. And that being maybe an analogy that should have come up later in some capacity, but didn't.
Yeah.
And then the monolith was there. The audio, the soundtrack, the score in general around this, I thought was really fun and at least did its job of setting the tone. If only there was a narrative to accompany that.
Sure.
But at least in any of the scenes where the monolith came up, I don't know if it's just because I'm stupid, but I was getting a little goosebumpy, a little chilly and stuff.
Right.
Just with all the music, the ethereal voices all kind of crescendoing around. I thought stuff like that was really neat. Mm-hmm. But the intro sequence went on for too long. The light show at the end went on for too long. Definitely some tedium.
Do you know how long?
I'm gonna guess 11 minutes.
9.5.
9.5 minutes. Gosh.
Screensavers for 9.5 minutes.
That is rough. And it was hard to look at. Well, I'll get to that a little bit, but and then as well as just, there's a lot of tedium throughout just some of the scenes. Some of them I did really enjoy being elongated, just these really drawn out with the landing sequences, especially when we have these really beautifully symmetric setup scenes, when the bay doors are opening for that ship landing initially. And everything's just very perfectly centered and symmetrical and things coming down. Some part of my brain is just sending rockets off because it likes shit like that.
Sure.
And then, the scene where Frank goes out to repair the A-35, the satellite, whatever the fuck thing. Mm-hmm. The air leaking sound and the deep breathing that went on for that entire scene was the most excruciating thing for me to experience.
Yeah.
I was about ready to just mute it and wait for it to be over and wait for the subtitle to pop up next of something happening, because I was about sick of it.
I read that Kubrick did the breathing.
Of course he did.
Yeah. So there's that.
But those are my pain points.